Hey everyone, it's Jill Broadbent and I'm here for Scrapbook.com today to make a layout using some really fun new products from Scrapbook.com. We're going to start with using a little bit of this pattern paper from the Holiday Pattern Collection. We've got this adorable stamp set here that's got sentiments and ornaments and snowflakes. We've got a geometric snowflake stencil. So snowflakes is going to be the theme of this. We are going to really get creative with Vellum. This is not a new product, but it is something that is so fun to work into layouts, and you're going to be able to get some really cool results with a few different techniques. We're going to try using Vellum, and we've got the heavyweight mixed media paper pad. That's going to be our base. We're going to create a 12 by 12 layout. I've got my ink blending tools and some really fun Distress Oxide colors, so let's get started. So I went ahead and took a 12 by 12 sheet of that mixed media paper, and I'm going to color the entire background with Distress Oxide inks. I chose 4 colors that I thought mixed in really well with some of the fun pattern papers that came in that 6 by 8 pack. So I'm just going to spend a few minutes blending my entire background and giving myself a unique and handmade complete base page for this layout. So you can see I went with a really dark kind of maroon color and faded it all the way down to a soft pinky peach. And I love doing this with Distress Oxides because it turns the paper almost to like a velvet texture. The ink is so beautiful, it saturates so well into the paper, and as it dries, it just looks soft and subtle, and you can make almost any color by blending these inks together. So then I took the stencil, the snowflake stencil, and I used a texture paste to cover the entire stencil with the snowflake pattern so that I have, again, more texture on the background and this white color so the snowflakes kind of pop. I did think it's kind of fun that this is a unique color combo for snowflakes. Normally I would have leaned into some soft blues and silvers and things like that, but doing reds and pinks was actually really fun because of those pattern papers which inspired the color combination. So I went ahead and filled the entire 12 by 12 background piece with the stenciled snowflakes. And it was really easy just to reline those up. And you can see I missed a little spot in the middle, but I knew that that was going to get covered up, so I didn't worry about that. Now here's the first application of Vellum on this layout. We're going to use it in multiple ways. And the first one is that I'm adding it as another layer of paper, and it is going to just soften that really bold, colorful background. And so I went ahead and stamped everywhere in between the snowflakes with one of the little small snowflakes from the stamp set. So I went ahead and stamped that in Versamark ink and then covered it in white embossing powder. And you can see then I'm making my own pattern paper by adding the snowflakes to this background. I went ahead and heat embossed all of those snowflakes so that they had that texture and that shine to them. And then I went through and added just some of the other scattered snowflakes. There's multiple small icons on the stamp set, which I love having in any stamp set because it gives you so much versatility. So I went in with some of the cluster stamps as well as one of the other really small snowflakes and just kind of added them in more of a random pattern where the first snowflakes that went on to the page lined up just perfectly. So then I went ahead and grabbed these nesting circles that I had from Scrapbook.com, and I love using them. I've used them on multiple layouts because they're so versatile and have so many different shapes, edged shapes for the circles. So I'm starting with that maroon cardstock in the pattern paper collection, and I went ahead and cut this out. I know that because the layout is square and then the next layer was square that I wanted then a circular element. So I took my tool from Spellbinders and just took out all the little hearts that came out of this pattern paper from the die. I don't plan to use the outer border, but I love having all of those little pieces because my next component to this layout is going to be a shaker. So then I went ahead and took some of the dies for, again, all of those small little snowflake scattered elements in the stamp set. And I folded my vellum in half and then die cut those so that I have 2 of every shape. And then I'm just going to stamp it in that saltwater taffy color. So again, that subtle, soft pink. And I'm just stamping each image as it lines up with the die cut piece. And when you stamp with Distress Oxides, especially on vellum, you do want to let it dry for a minute. It is wet to the touch at first, but a few minutes or hitting it with a heat gun will dry it really quickly. So I'm starting to think about making this shaker, and I've got some acetate sheets from Scrapbook.com as well. So I pull out one of those sheets and I start to plan out how the shaker is going to work. But then I realize that I do want that maroon piece to be a top to the shaker. So I went ahead and cut the circles on my Cricut because I needed them to be an exact size that the dies didn't work for. So that maroon piece I cut on the Cricut. The pink dot pattern paper I cut from that nesting die set. So now I've added the acetate sheet to the top of that circle, the frame, and now I'm filling it in with foam tape, which is going to give me the dimension to let all of the little bits shake inside without falling out. So you just want to make sure that you seal off all the edges so that nothing falls out of your circle. And then I went ahead and grabbed that vellum base page so that I could center this shaker right into the middle of the card. I'm using the Artiste glue from Scrapbook.com as well. I love that adhesive. And then I went ahead and took those stamped vellum pieces and I'm gluing them into the shaker. Lots of times, whether I'm doing a shaker on a card or a layout, I like to glue down the elements in just a few components so that they don't always all fall right to the bottom. And then all of the hearts that came from that die cut, I went ahead and put those into the middle of my shaker. So sometimes it's fun to use sequins or some different embellishments, but you can easily make your own shaker pieces by using dies and different pieces like that. So now you can see the vellum pieces are adhered to the background, and then all the little hearts can just shake around in that piece. So it's fun to think about shakers not only on cards, but also on layouts. So then I took the frame that cut out from the first round of die cutting that maroon paper, and I put it behind the shaker. And now I'm using vellum yet again, a third way to use vellum. So we used it as the dies inside the shaker. We used it as the base with some embossing. And now I'm coloring the vellum with that saltwater taffy color. And then I cut a circle out of that and cut that circle in half because I'm thinking on top of the shaker, I'm going to put a pocket for my photos and journaling. I had photos that I loved for this, and having too many photos on the layout then hides kind of all of the fun elements that I wanted to show. So I went ahead and took a stamp set from Scrapbook.com and I stamped the word snow and again embossed that. So that's kind of that white texture is playing out throughout the layout on embossing powder as well as the texture paste, and it's just going to add that added dimension. There's not a lot of added embellishments, so it's those small details that really help to pull the layout together. So I'm attaching it at the bottom of the shaker, and it's going to be an interactive pocket so that then the photos and the journaling can all be in that pocket, and they can be pulled out to enjoy. So I also was struggling with using both of the photos because it felt odd to have a face and a hand, but they didn't go right together. I played around with it a lot and then felt like it was best to layer them behind each other. So I went ahead and layered the hand catching the snowflakes onto a vellum piece, and then I'm adding some journaling on that fun pattern paper to tell about this crazy, amazing snowstorm. I had never seen snowflakes like this, and when I went out to see them, you could see the detail and the shape of each snowflake with the naked eye. It was so amazing, and one of them stuck just right to my eyelash, and so I took a selfie because I wanted to capture that, how perfect it was. And if you could see the picture up close, you'd see how perfect that snowflake was. It was amazing. So then I took some ribbon from my stash, and I made that so it'd be like a little pull tab behind my photo. So now I'm layering in, I've got my photo with journaling, I've got the other photo with the fun hand with all the extra snowflakes on it. And then I took some of that pattern paper that I didn't use anywhere else on the layout, but I did love, and the colors work really well, and just matted it to the back of the other photo so that there was something that finished off all four sides, or both sides of all of the pieces here on the layout. Then I thought it'd be fun to add a little bit of a bow with that. So I added the bow. I also went through and ripped up the edges of that vellum just to give it a more natural feel and keep everything from being so perfectly linear. And it makes it feel just a little bit more organic, and I liked how that kind of finished it off. So you've got this fun shaker. You've got all of the different components from the journaling to the photos, all tucked into a fun little pocket. 3 different ways to use your vellum and all of these beautiful snowflake products. It was so fun to create this layout. Thanks for joining me today. You can find all of the details to the products that I used in the description below.